Ilan Pape, The Ethnic Cleansing of Palestine. Over 700,000 olive and orange trees have been destroyed by the Israelis. This is an act of sheer vandalism from a state that claims to practice conservation of the environment. How appalling and shameful! As the owner of lands in general, along with other agencies that possess state land in Israel, such as the Israeli Land Authority, the army, and the government, the Jewish National Fund, JNF, was also involved in establishing new Jewish settlements on the lands of the destroyed Palestinian villages. Here, dispossession was accompanied by the renaming of the places it had seized, destroyed, and now recreated. This mission was accomplished with the help of archaeologists and biblical experts who volunteered to serve on an official naming committee, whose job it was to Hebraize Palestine's geography. This naming committee was in fact an old outfit already put in place in 1920 when it acted as an ad hoc group of scholars that granted Hebrew names to lands and places newly purchased by the Jews, and they continued to do so for lands and places taken by force during the Nakba. It was reconvened by Ben Gurion in July 1949, who turned it into a subdivision of the JNF. The naming committee was not working in a total vacuum. Some of the Palestinian villages were inevitably built on the ruins of earlier and even ancient civilizations, including the Hebrew one. But this was a limited phenomenon, and none of the cases involved was unambiguous. The postulated Hebrew sites date back to such ancient times that there is little chance of establishing their locations properly. But then, of course, the motive for Hebraizing the names of the evicted villages was ideological and not scholarly. The narrative accompanying this expropriation was very simple. Throughout the years of foreign occupation of Eretz Israel, the original Hebrew names were erased or became garbled and sometimes took on an alien form. The archaeological zeal to reproduce the map of ancient Israel was in essence none other than a systematic scholarly, political, and military attempt to de Arabize the terrain, its names and geography, but above all, its history. The JNF, as mentioned before, was busy confiscating land in the 1950s and the 1960s, but it did not end there. It also owned land in the Greater Jerusalem area that it had received from the custodian of absentee lands after the 1967 war. In the early 1980s, this land was passed on by the JNF to Elad, the settlers' NGO that was then and remains today devoted to the Judaization of East Jerusalem. This NGO focused on Silwan and stated openly that it wanted to cleanse that village from its original Palestinian inhabitants. In 2005, it received assistance from the Jerusalem municipality, which ordered the destruction of 3 dozen houses there under the pretext of illegal construction and expansion. In the beginning of the 21st century, the JNF's main challenges were the government policies of privatization of land ownership, accelerated under Benjamin Netanyahu 1996-1999, and Ariel Sharon 2001-2003, 2003-2006, which threatened to limit the JNF's control. However, both these right wing prime ministers were torn between Zionism and capitalism. And the time will tell how much land their successors will allow to remain in the JNF's hands in the future. What is not going to change is the stronghold the JNF has over Israel's forests. In these forests, Nakba denial is so pervasive and has been achieved so effectively that they have become a main arena of a struggle for Palestinian refugees. We sing to commemorate the villages that lie buried beneath them. They are up against an organization, the JNF, which claims that there is only barren land under the pine and cypress trees it has planted there. So the book by Ilan Pape is of 2006. It was first published by One World Publications Limited, October 2006, and it has several republications ever since. Yes, it's almost 20 years, 18 years, 18 years. The cleansing is about to wrap up.